Hi friends. Welcome back to Rethink Spy, our haunted corner of YouTube. If you're new here, don't worry, we won't scare you too much. Before we start our story today, I have a small favor to ask. If you love getting a good scare and having a laugh too, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. This way, you won't miss any of our interesting and funny stories. Alright, get comfy, maybe grab some popcorn, and definitely a blanket to hide under. Today's story is a wild ride. It's about forbidden love, a wicked priest, and secrets that could make your hair stand on end. We are diving into the eerie tale of Adese and Father Jonathan. You don't want to miss this one. Let's get into the video, pick lessons so that tomorrow the same doesn't happen to you to become a lesson for others. The story goes. The church was silent, save for the gentle creak of old wooden pews and the soft rustle of leaves outside. The air was thick with an eerie stillness, broken only by the sound of Adese's hesitant footsteps as she approached the confessional booth. The moment she opened her mouth to speak, she felt a shiver run down her spine. Her voice, soft and filled with emotion, carried through the small, dark space. Father Jonathan sat on the other side, listening intently. But something about Adese's voice stirred something inside him. Without thinking, he broke protocol and opened the door to look at her. Adese gasped, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. It was forbidden for the priest to see the penitent, yet here they were, face to face. "It's all right," Father Jonathan said softly, trying to calm her. "You can trust me." They sat alone in the dimly lit church, the candles casting long shadows that flickered on the walls. The air was heavy with the scent of incense, adding to the surreal atmosphere. Adese felt an odd mix of fear and fascination as Father Jonathan spoke to her, his voice calm and reassuring. They talked about many things, her fears, her dreams, and eventually, love. The priest's eyes, once filled with a serene detachment, now sparkled with a dangerous warmth. "If you keep our relationship a secret," he whispered, leaning closer, "I will take care of you. No one has to know." Adese felt a rush of excitement and dread, knowing that crossing this line could change everything. Their relationship grew in secrecy. Each meeting was more intense than the last, the thrill of the forbidden adding to their passion. Father Jonathan showered Adese with gifts, an expensive apartment, a brand new SUV. He used church funds, rationalizing that his love for her was worth any cost. Their love seemed to know no bounds, soaring high above the constraints of their reality. But there was always a shadow hanging over them, a constant reminder of the forbidden nature of their love. They had to be careful, always looking over their shoulders. As their love deepened, Adese began to push Father Jonathan to leave the priesthood. "We can be together openly," she pleaded during one of their secret meetings. She envisioned a life where they could walk hand in hand without fear. But he shook his head, the weight of his vows heavy on his shoulders. He couldn't imagine a life outside the church, the only life he had ever known. "I can't," he said, his voice strained. "You don't understand what you're asking. I've given my life to the church." Unbeknownst to Father Jonathan, Adese had her own secrets. She was already married, though separated. The vow still stood, a legal and moral barrier to their love. Her estranged husband had moved to another city, but the ties had never been severed. Yet, they continued their clandestine meetings, slipping away to expensive nightclubs and secret rendezvous. Each outing was a risk, but the allure of their forbidden love was too strong to resist. Their passionate affair took a dark turn when Adese discovered she was pregnant. The news shook Father Jonathan to his core. His hands trembled as he heard the words, his mind racing with the implications. "You have to get rid of it," he demanded, his voice breaking. He couldn't bear the thought of a child revealing their secret. But Adese refused, her eyes filled with determination. "I want," she said firmly. "This is our child. She placed a protective hand on her belly, feeling a new life growing inside her. Father Jonathan's desperation grew. He felt trapped, his world closing in around him. In a moment of madness, he tried to kidnap Adese, hoping to force her into an abortion. He waited outside her apartment, grabbing her as she stepped out. But she fought back, her will to protect her unborn child giving her strength. She managed to escape, her heart pounding with the realization of how far he would go to protect their secret. Adese's life became a nightmare. She couldn't go home, couldn't seek refuge with friends. Every shadow seemed to hide a threat, every unfamiliar face a potential danger. She slept outside, hidden in the bushes, terrified of what Father Jonathan might do next. The once loving priest had become a shadowy figure of dread in her life, his obsession driving him to madness. The community soon discovered the truth about their affair. Whispers turned to shouts, and the scandal spread like wildfire. The news was inescapable, then Father Jonathan's reputation was shattered. He was no longer the beloved priest, but a man caught in a scandal of his own making. Adese became a pariah, ostracized and alone. She could feel the weight of their judgment wherever she went. Adese decided to take drastic measures. She threatened to write a letter to the elders, exposing everything. The thought of losing everything drove Father Jonathan to new heights of madness. He became obsessed with finding her, stopping her at any cost. He could see his entire life unraveling, and he couldn't let that happen. Adese knew she had to run. She couldn't stay in the village, couldn't risk being found. She packed what little she had, every moment filled with fear. She disappeared into the night, hoping to find safety far from the reach of Father Jonathan. The road ahead was uncertain, but she had no other choice. Father Jonathan was relentless. He searched everywhere, his once gentle demeanor replaced by a cold, determined fury. He couldn't let Adese ruin him, couldn't let their secret be exposed. His search took him to every corner of the region, asking questions and following leads. Adese found refuge in a distant town, hoping to start anew. The people there didn't know her past, and didn't judge her. But the fear remained a constant companion. She looked over her shoulder at every turn, always expecting to see Father Jonathan lurking in the shadows. She started building a new life, piece by piece, finding strength in her unborn child. With trembling hands, Adese wrote her letter to the elders, detailing everything. She sealed it and sent it, knowing that it might be her only hope for safety. The truth had to come out, no matter the cost. She felt a sense of relief, but also a new wave of fear. What would happen next? Father Jonathan tracked her down. Their final confrontation was intensely filled with anger, fear, and a deep, twisted sense of love. He begged her to come back, to forget everything and run away with him. His eyes were wild, his face haggard from weeks of searching. But Adese stood firm in her resolve unbroken. "No," she said, her voice steady. "It's over. You need to let me go." The elders' response was swift. They launched an investigation, then Father Jonathan was removed from his position, stripped of his title. The church could no longer protect him, and he was left to face the consequences of his actions alone. His life, once filled with promise, lay in ruins. Adese gave birth to a healthy baby boy. She named him Hope, a symbol of her new beginning. Though the scars of her past remained, she was determined to build a better life for herself and her child. She poured all her love into raising him, finding joy in his every smile. Time began to heal the wounds. Adese found support in her new community, people who accepted her and helped her move forward. She started to rebuild her life, piece by piece. Each day brought new challenges, but also new victories. Adese's love for her son grew with each passing day. He became her anchor, her reason to keep going. She vowed to protect him from the darkness of their past, to to give him the life he deserved. She watched him grow, his laughter filling their small home with light. Father Jonathan sought redemption. He reached out to Adese, apologizing for everything. His voice was filled with regret, his eyes haunted by the mistakes of his past. She listened, but the wounds were too deep. She forgave him, but they could never go back to what they were. Adese met someone new, the kind man who accepted her past and loved her for who she was. Slowly, she began to open her heart again, allowing herself to feel happiness once more. They built a life together, filled with love and understanding. Adese returned to her old village, facing the people who had once turned their backs on her. She stood tall, unafraid, and told her story. The truth set her free, and she found closure in their acceptance. She felt a sense of peace, knowing she had faced her demons. With her new partner and her son by her side, Adese began to build a future. They moved to a small house in the countryside where they could live peacefully, away from the shadows of the past. It was a place of tranquility, a fresh start for them all. Adese started a small business, finding joy in her work. She became a part of her new community, making friends and building a life filled with love and laughter. Each day was a testament to her strength and resilience. Father Jonathan found solace in his faith, seeking forgiveness for his sins. He devoted his life to helping others, trying to make amends for the pain he had caused. His journey to redemption was long and difficult, but it brought him a sense of peace. As Hope grew older, Adese shared her story with him. She taught him about love, forgiveness, and the strength to overcome adversity. He became a kind, compassionate young man, a testament to her resilience. She watched with pride as he navigated the world with grace. Years later, Adese received a letter from Father Jonathan. He was dying and wanted to see her one last time. She agreed, meeting him in the small, quiet church where it had all begun. The memories flooded back, but she was no longer the scared girl she once was. Their final conversation was filled with tears and regrets. Father Jonathan apologized once more, his voice weak and frail. Adese forgave him, offering him the peace he had been searching for. She held his hand as he took his last breath, feeling a sense of closure. Father Jonathan passed away shortly after, his soul finally at rest. Adese felt a sense of closure, the weight lifted from her shoulders. She knew that she had done the right thing for herself and for her son. The past no longer held power over her. Adese stood at the edge of a hill, watching the sunrise with her son by her side. The past was behind them, and a new dawn was breaking. They walked back to their home, hand in hand, ready to embrace the future together. It was a future filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities. And thus ends the tale of Adese and Father Jonathan, a story of forbidden love, betrayal, and ultimately, redemption. It serves as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a new beginning.